It appears that lightweight champion Islam Makhachev will not fight at 170 pounds against Belal Muhammad if he's successful at UFC 315 next month against Jack Della Maddalena. This according to his coach, mentor, teammate, Khabib Nurmagomedov, who did an interview. Shout out to Red Corner MMA for transcribing it. We'll talk about that in a second here, but I'm going to talk about what could be some of the options here for Islam going forward. I did a video on this recently. My name is James Lynch. So the quote here says, we'll read the tweet actually. Khabib makes it clear that Islam won't move up to welterweight because Belal is the champion and they won't trade relationships for belts. Islam wants to fight at 170, but we can't go up there because Belal is the champion and he's very close to us. We can't exchange our relationships for belts. That's not the way we are. Those who offer us this just don't look at the things we do. So we have different views in this case. I really want to Belal to win with all my heart. And this is something I mentioned in the last video I did on the whole Islam wanting to move up, in that I didn't think they were going to fight each other. They've trained together before. They're both Muslim. There's a lot of loyalty there. I thought that was a possibility of them, competing against each other. So in other words, Islam's only going to move up. And again, if Khabib's saying this, Islam's going to listen to Khabib. Okay. So it might as well be Islam saying this because, again, Khabib has a strong influence on Islam's career. We've seen that. He sort of, mentored him throughout his career and basically replaced him once Khabib had retired. So I think that, and kind of getting to the fight for next month, I think Belal wins that fight. I think Jack Della Maddalena has a huge task in defeating Belal Muhammad. To me, I really think there's only one way for him to win, and that would be by knockout against Belal. Belal, yes, he's older, but he's a tough guy to finish. The only guy who's knocked him out is Vicente Luque. Belal's been more active. Jack's been out for a while. He's had the injury that he's coming off. I think things are looking better for Belal Muhammad to win that fight. So this whole plan of him moving up could backfire, and this is something I talked about in my last video. But then we got this other quote from Khabib as well, which kind of eliminates one of the opponents next for Islam Makhachev from the same interview. This courtesy of ACD MMA says, let's imagine Islam beats Topuria, then Topuria fights again and loses. Basically, he was a nobody at 155. Islam beat a guy who was a nobody at 155 in terms of Islam's legacy. Islam doesn't have that much time left either. He'll be 34 soon. Islam doesn't want to fight Topuria or Volkanovski or someone stepping in on short notice like Moicano. Islam wants to fight big names who really deserve it. Guys who've been in 155 division for the long time. Nothing personal, but you're moving up a weight class, earn it. Now, I get this. I've talked about this before. I think Ilya, should realistically fight someone else first. Ilya's in a bit of a different category though, because he's knocked out both Volk and Max Holloway, something that really hasn't been done before. So I understand what he's saying here. But him saying that he was a nobody at 155, well, he became a somebody just for the simple fact that he defeated two of the best fighters at 145. Now, granted, I think Topuria still got work to do. It would have been nice to see him rematch Volk. Would have been nice to see him fight Movsar Evloev. So I understand that perspective as well. Just sort of outlining the clarity here. So the key line here is says guys who've been in the division for a long time. Okay, well, why is he not fighting Oliveira? Right? I know what people are going to say in the comments. Oh, he destroyed Oliveira. He doesn't deserve it. Well, listen, Oliveira's a former champion. He's had a title defense. He's fought and defeated some really good names in the weight class. He's 2-1 since the Islam fight. The one fight he did lose was a close fight against Arman Tsarukyan. Why is he not getting it? Now, the real contender should be Arman Tsarukyan. We know the UFC's not going to do that. I don't need to talk about this over and over again. Dana White's already said Arman's not getting next. So we can eliminate Arman from Islam, him being Islam's next opponent. So really it's Charles and Justin. And you know what's going to end up happening? It's going to be Justin Gaethje. Now, is that the worst fight in the world to watch? No, it'll be entertaining. I already saw his manager posted something this morning about that fight. And that's likely what's going to happen next, because this is my prediction. I think Belal is going to beat Jack Della Maddalena, and I think Islam's going to end up having to fight Justin Gaethje, and I think the Justin Gaethje-Islam fight is going to play out very similarly to the Khabib and Justin Gaethje fight from a couple years ago. I think Gaethje deserves the opportunity. I think he was kind of screwed over last year with the whole BMF title fight that he, didn't really have to take. It was the UFC needed a big fight. Max was available. They put the fight together, and what happened? Gaethje lost. So this would be some redemption. But I think you'll see some fans kind of upset by this, not because of the matchup itself. Obviously, Gaethje-Islam is an exciting fight, but just the fact that I think if you had polled fans and asking which fight they would want more, I think fans would have wanted to see Topuria. So I think what's going to end up happening is you're going to get Gaethje and Islam fighting each other. You're going to get Topuria and Charles Oliveira fighting each other. And Belal's going to have to fight either Shavkat or maybe Sean Brady rematch, depending on Shavkat and his recovery time. So Yeah, I just think it's interesting. Again, I'm only doing this video because this pretty much confirms that he won't fight Bilal, and I kind of figured that too. But because I've heard some people in my live chats and other people talk about how, oh well, Bilal unfollowed certain people on Instagram, so maybe he's prepping to fight Islam. Like, I think Bilal would fight Islam, but I don't think Islam would fight Bilal, if that makes sense. And not because he's scared. I think there's like an actual loyalty thing there. I think for Bilal, he'll take all comers. It doesn't really matter to him. And then that's not, again, throwing any shade at Islam. I just think they have different principles when it comes to these things. So yeah. So like I said, if I had to make a prediction right now, I do think it's going to be Gaethje Islam, and I think Islam wins that all day. Gaethje's going to be a little bit older, and realistically, does Gaethje deserve it to some degree? Again, I mentioned the whole situation last year with UFC 300 where, he kind of got screwed over by having to fight Holloway, but he's coming off a win over a guy he already beat. Is that really worthy of a title shot? Like, to me, if we're going off merit, Charles Oliveira deserves it more. Charles Oliveira was a former champion. Charles Oliveira has got some wins since then. He got the finish over Dariush, got the win over Michael Chandler, which I know is not exactly aged so well after last weekend, but in general, he's got 2 wins. How does that not get him a title shot again? There's a lot of fans out there, by the way, who just for some reason feel like Oliveira should never get a title shot again because Islam's champion. That's nonsense. He lost the first fight. I don't think Oliveira is going to win the rematch against Islam, by the way, but I think it'll be better than the first time. And I think Oliveira does have a little bit of an edge over Gaethje in the sense that he's beat Gaethje, and also he's a former champion. That should count for something. And I think there's a lot of politics going on. Again, the one common denominator here, look who the manager is here, right? He manages Gaethje, he manages Islam, so that I'm sure plays into this as well. But yeah, I think honestly, and maybe you guys let me know in the comments, we don't even need to do a poll about this. Do you want to see Islam and Gaethje fight? I personally would rather see Charles get a shot again, just because Charles, I think, is a little bit better than Gaethje. Maybe he's not. Maybe Gaethje and Oliveira, they have a rematch. Maybe that fight goes differently, but I kind of feel like at this point, Oliveira deserves it more than Gaethje does, especially since Gaethje had to fight a guy he's already defeated in his last fight. And I know that wasn't his fault. He was supposed to fight Dan Hooker. Things happen, but I don't know. Like, this to me seems like not the best option overall. And I've done videos on this before. I think Islam and Topuria is the biggest fight you can make in the UFC right now outside of Jones and Aspinall. I get where people are coming from. If Islam beats some people say, oh, well, he beat another featherweight. But the thing is, Topuria is such a huge star in the UFC right now. That fight may never happen, and that might be a fight that the UFC is going to regret not doing. So we'll see how this unfolds. I still think UFC 317, we should be hearing an announcement here soon, but that card needs to add some firepower. That's a big card for the UFC at the midway point of the year. So yeah, very interesting. But I want to get your guys' take on this. Do you agree with Islam and Bilal not fighting each other? What do you think of that? Do you think Gaethje and Islam happens next? Is that a fight you want to see? Because like I said, I think how this is all going to kind of play out is it's going to be Gaethje and Islam fighting, because I think Bilal wins. And then you're going to get Oliveira and Topuria, which will be a good fight. But again, the bigger fight could have been Islam and Topuria. Personally, would have rather seen that. But yeah, we'll have to see how this all unfolds. But we're going to get some clarity here soon. And obviously, after May 10th, we're going to get an understanding of where things go. And where like the other thing is, like, if Islam's waiting around this long, what card is he going to fight on? Is he going to wait all the way till October when they go back to the Middle East? I know they have a card coming up, I think in July, but that seems like a bit of a quick turnaround for Islam to come back for the Bilal. Yeah, it wouldn't be Bilal. Let's say JDM beats Bilal. They're not going to do that fight on. There's the Abu Dhabi card, or the the Dubai card on July 26th. I don't think Islam's going to fight on that card. He would probably be fighting later in the year. So again, I know Islam wanted to be active. I think this whole situation is kind of delaying him coming back sooner rather than later. And I think fans want to see him be a bit more active. But, again, we'll have to see how this all unfolds. So let me know in the comments what you think of Khabib's comments, how you think this is going to play out. What fights do you want to see? Let me know in the comments. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.